I was the only child in my family, and I could not understand that in the 1920s the people were so very poor. There was no work to be done, and I was, of course, born in 1929, so I just go by hearsay what my parents told me. Now, the men folk in Germany at that particular time built the autobahns. They had so long been out of work, and everybody was very grateful to that they could have a proper job. My father could do anything, and he was in great demand because he could do anything at all. Through the state, the German women and mothers, they were sort of helped with their children. If you had 3 children, you became a bronze medal, and 5 children, a silver medal, and over 6 children, you got a gold medal. That was very good. If you had to go shopping, you never had to join the queue. You could always go straight to the front. Now that had nothing to do, of course, with my mother, since she had only me and was no good for anything else. My mother always had to be at the bottom of the queue. My parents did not do a lot of talking about the Partei, which is the German state. So every time when I came back home and my parents were there, they just said, you have to be, I will take that word in German, vorsichtig. You had to be very careful what you were saying at this time in Germany. We never sat down, all of us, and talked about state business at all. I attended school when I was 6 years old in a Catholic school at St. Antonius. I liked going very much to going to school because being the only child in my parents' house, I had no other people of my age. We did sports, always sports in Germany in that time. We did not really discuss at that time about politics because we were really too young to understand it all. But we were very much in awe to do the right thing because Adolf Hitler just promised for everybody to have a much better life in Germany as before. We had to say Heil Hitler before we went into our classrooms for our lessons, where we pushed there to say Heil Hitler because we had to say it. But yes, but nobody ever in Germany in those years did a thing they wanted to do. You know, it was meant to do and you did it. And that was how it was going to do. I was 8 years old and went to this BDM, and all young girls of that similar older had to go and be in every week. We used to have a lady coming in who was like an officer, and she taught us what she wanted or expected the BDM to do. Who taught us some more sport, who taught us how to march. We used to go and have outings. We had tents. We had to learn how to, I should say, fry sausages, that we could make something to eat for us. Then they took up swimming, and we all had to learn how to swim. Well, of course, we all did, because we had to do it. With the BDM, we had many outings, but not to mix really with a group of SS or SR. This particular one, we had all got to go by train to Koblenz. And there was a great get-together. And Adolf Hitler was going along the River Rhine, and we had to stand there and wave little flags when he went past us. Also, there was Hermann Göring, Rudolf Hess, and Joseph Goebbels following him, and he sort of smiled at us and spoke with us. Now, I didn't speak to him, but he used to go to every fourth or fifth girl and had a word with them. The Jews, we were told there were no good people at all. As a German, you had to go and not use their shops. And Jews always had a little business going. Then very soon, the Kristallnacht, where the SR bashed all their shops and broke all the big windows. But we weren't allowed out in the streets. I know my parents would not let me go outside. My grandparents, my father's mother and father, they always used to still go to the Jews because they had better value in selling there whatever you wanted. But all the Jews on their left arm had to put a yellow band with a star so that people knew they were Jews. They were stopped anywhere if they didn't have the full gala on. But that was about all what was going on in Bochum. Of course, in Berlin or Munich, they had a lot more happenings. We didn't know that there was collecting, the state was collecting the Jews and transported them to Auschwitz and Buchenwald. And you will not believe me, when I was in England, that was the first time I heard that they had to go there and what happening to him. I did not know, and people did not know what had happened. And that is the truth. That definitely is the truth. I was 1941 to 1942 in Czechoslovakia with our school. We were there for a year. From 1942 and 1943, we were sent to the Black Forest in southern Germany. After that, we had to work on the land, and because by that time they were dragging all the men, any men they could find, to put them in the army. In 4th of November 1944, we lost our house. and my father and the factory were sent to Bavaria. And there we had to do we had to dig for the Americans tanks to be stopped in this area where they wanted. But after this happened, we were told that we were going back home. We had to, all of us had to work and knock this cement of stones to rebuild Bochum again. We had to do that, and we all had to knock off 50 stones a day. Why I was still alive, it was because my father had to work from 6 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at night. And my mother, since she had not many children to look after, she had to work in a factory as well. But she only went from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I had to go and work in this very large shop. It was like Marks and Spencer's, and I had to sit in address envelopes and silly things like that. But the man who owns the shop had come on the force when we lost our house and sent me home. And that is where the Radio Hilversum comes into it. In Germany at that time, if you were listened to Radio Hilversum, well, in extreme cases they were shot. But I told Mr. Mertens that I hadn't finished the envelopes, and he said, leave them, go home and tell your dad I sent you, and he will know. And he must have known that Hilversum always did name the town the British were going to bomb. And my father understood that straight away. In my father's factory, he had 2 secretaries. One day he went past one of the ladies and happened to look down to the typewriter, and she put down that we were bombed again, that pig of Hitler. And my dad straight away took the roll when you have a typewriter, drawn it backwards in, that there was nothing written on the thing. But when my dad just wanted to step away, there was a spy from the party. That lady was sent in some type of a camp. But when the war was over and my father was told, luckily, that lady was alive and had come back home and spoke up for my dad and said, no, it wasn't Hermaniken at all. It was the spy standing behind him. We were there another year. And then, of course, I mean, in 45, that was the end of the war.
This is London calling. Here is a news flash. The German radio has just announced that Hitler is dead. I repeat that. The German radio has just announced that Hitler is dead.
Yesterday morning at 2:41 a.m. at General Eisenhower's headquarters, General Jodl, the representative of the German High Command, and of Grand Admiral Dönitz, the designated head of the German state, signed the act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea and air forces in Europe to the Allied expeditionary forces and simultaneously to the Soviet High Command.
We had to leave our places and hide in some forests, but the Americans were very good and they did not attack any normal people, and we only laughed because their tanks across the river, 5 tanks used to come and drive down, turn around and drive back, and that was their effort on the on the war. But that's quite true. The eastern section, they were very badly treated by the Russians, and I know quite a few ladies who came over that they've been raped. That was a very bad, but the English liked most of all, and the Americans, but never the Russians. How I came to come to England. I was in a street tram, and I suddenly saw this plaque, well, that was stuck on the wall in the street tram, that England was wanting German girls to work in British hospitals. That really set me, and I went home, and I was at that particular time working for a local dentist, and I told my dad to sit down because I was going to England. So, well, that didn't go down, but my dad knew me. He said, well, she's 20 years now. When she's 21, she would go in any case. So he let me go.